Peace and wholeness, family. Welcome back to the channel. Rafael back here with another one. So as a New Yorker, I want to talk about the new low positivity rates of the virus that shall not be named, and how we were the epicenter of the outbreak, how everybody was in mass hysteria in New York because of the so-called quote-unquote spread of the virus. But now it's all cool, calm, and collective, even though we are still mandated to wear a mask. People are receiving $5,000 fines for not wearing their mask in public places. But let's jump into this and see what they're saying.
The Centers for Disease Control has growing concerns about the coronavirus's effect on children. The agency believes that about 600 children have come down with a rare illness that is linked to COVID-19. Experts say multi-system inflammatory syndrome attacks a child's vital organs. It's been found in kids in more than 40 states, as well as the District of Columbia. Now, of those 600 children, 10 have passed away. Doctors also say Latino and Black children are especially coming down with that mysterious illness, that they make up nearly 3/4 of all cases.
It's something that happens not when you get the infection with COVID, but a few weeks after you get infection with COVID.
Experts say the most common symptoms are abdominal pain, skin rashes, fever.
Now, we were told when this virus came out that children were not susceptible to it and are very rare carriers of getting this virus, which is why we didn't hear anything about children. Then they try to throw the Kawasaki disease, that it's not COVID, but now the kids are getting Kawasaki disease. Now they said kids are getting AMR, which I showed in my previous video, of a new disease that's popping up that kids are potentially getting due to this so quote unquote virus. Now they're saying kids are getting, well, before I even jump into that, let me finish what they're saying here. So they're saying New York reported its lowest day positive rate since the start of the pandemic. Governor Cuomo announced Sunday 65,800 tests were conducted Saturday, with only a 0.7 testing positive. So if that's the case, as a New Yorker, I still don't get why we're still mandated to wear a mask. I don't understand why we're still social distancing if we got this under control. But yet, I'm still wondering how they're testing for this virus. Meanwhile, the Center for Disease and Control has growing concerns about the coronavirus effect on children. The agency believes, not that the agency knows, the agency believes that about 600 children have come down with a rare illness that is linked to COVID-19. Now, we're told that this virus is new, that we don't know anything about COVID-19. So how is that linked to COVID-19? How is this inflammatory disease linked to COVID-19 if we don't even know the symptoms yet, because every day there's a new symptom for COVID-19? Let's keep going. Experts say multi-system inflammatory syndrome attacks a child's vital organ. It has been found in kids in more than 40 states, as well as the District of Columbia. Of those 600 children, 10 passed away. Doctors also say Latino and Black children are especially coming down with the mysterious illness. And then here we go. How they aim towards the races. Now, COVID is conscious enough to direct itself to a particular race and attack only that race. Now, let's see what are the symptoms. Prolonged fever, difficulty feeding if you're an infant, severe abdominal pain, diarrhea, vomiting, change in skin color, becoming pale, patchy, and or blue, trouble breathing or breathing very quickly, racing heart, and chest pain. Now I'm going to go through them one by one. Prolonged fever. We're making these kids constantly wash their hands, sanitize, face mask. They're social distancing. They're not going outside. They're not picking up all of the natural germs that they need to sustain life, to build up their own immunity. Difficult feeding infants. GMO foods. Don't you think? Those parents that are breastfeeding, that are washing their hands, constantly sanitizing, they themselves are not building up their own immunity to be passing it over to the infant. Severe abdominal pain, diarrhea, and or vomiting. Well, again, GMO foods. Aren't people spraying all different types of different disinfectants on their foods? Wouldn't that cause something? Change in skin color. You're not building immunity. You're being susceptible to other diseases and bacteria. Trouble breathing. If you take that diaper off your face, maybe you can breathe. Racing heart. You're stressed. You have anxiety. You're cooped up. You're locked in. You're not working. You're not getting money. You're not being able to pay your bills. Your kids are stressing you. The kids are even stressed. Think about that, people. And they just want to say, oh, it's a new disease. Now, when COVID came out, we were told why children are less affected. And now that we're going back to school and schools trying to open up, now all of these diseases are popping up. Now that we're just 1 month away from school, or some schools already have opened up. Here in New York, we're not open yet for school. But now that we're getting close to school, all of these things are popping up. One of the mysteries of COVID-19 is why children are much less likely than adults to be harmed by the disease. To answer this question, Cedars-Sinai Newsroom spoke to Priya Soni, MD, medical doctor. She went to school for it, got her degree, got the title. Cedars-Sinai pediatric infectious disease specialist. So she knows what she's talking about. And again, this for YouTube. I ain't a medical doctor, but she is, and this is what she's found. Not only are fewer children testing positive for COVID-19, said Sony, but those who do test positive are likely to have milder cases. And it is the opposite of most viruses. There is no other respiratory virus that we know that affects adults so much more severely than infants, Sony said. For example, when a child gets a viral infection, there are usually more intense symptoms accompanied by high fevers. In the case of COVID-19, it's the adults who are getting the high fevers, having severe complications, and even dying. But now they're saying COVID is linked to the other disease, multi-inflammatory syndrome, and that is causing all these kids to be infected and now dying. I hope you guys are following where I'm going, because there is no link. It's all blasphemy, because they tell us kids are rare. Now supposedly all these kids are getting it, but how? Remember what the Bulgarian Pathology Association said. These kids have to be tested and be tested positive, right? But according to this, looking closely at the facts, the conclusion is that these PCR tests are meaningless. Meaningless as a diagnostic tool to determine an alleged infection by a supposedly new virus. So how can they link that to the other virus called SARS-CoV-2? So how is it linked if you cannot determine the virus, if you cannot diagnose the virus? Now, here in New York, we're getting quarantine checkpoints. And it's now this draconian system that it's moving rapidly at warp speed pace, just like the vaccines that are coming, and this system and the systemic lockdowns that will be government controlled. Now, during the past couple of days, the city began rolling out its random checkpoint operation in an effort to enforce a mandatory 2-week quarantine for travelers from 35 high infection states. Again, how are these infection states high when one, according to their words, they told us that coronavirus, COVID-19, does not live for long periods of time in the heat. But I guess everybody forgot about that because, like George Carlin said, nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. Right? A program that Bill de Blasio administration plans to ramp up in the coming days. So far, the sheriff's office set up checkpoints at the Goethals Bridge, Bayonne Bridge, and Outer Bridge crossings on Staten Island. Now, they've stopped over 350 cars already. Randomly. Right? Now, here they're going to show, supposedly, a plate from New Jersey. From Florida, right? Florida plate. Is how they mind fuck you. And over here, we have New Jersey plates. And they said they were in Staten Island and Bayonne. Bayonne is in New Jersey. All these places are right in New Jersey. But they're stopping a Jersey resident. So they don't care. And over here, it's a Florida. So they making you think it's out of state. They don't care who it is. They're just doing random checkpoints. New York officials have stopped 353 cars at entrances to the Big Apple to warn travelers of the mandatory 2-week quarantine rule. Warn my ass. This is just their tyrannical, costume wearing, badge having, straight stripping your rights and searching everything you have at their will. At your mercy, at their will. The stops were made from Wednesday through Friday at bridges and tunnels, according to Mayor Bill de Blasio's office, which also said that 1,100 masks were distributed. So they're stopping you, handing you masks while you're in your persons, safe to yourself, while they're obstructing your amendment rights. Cars were stopped randomly and occupants asked if spent more than 24 hours during the previous 14 days in any state on New York's restricted list. I don't have to tell you crap. I don't have to say anything to you. I have not broken any law. I have not left anybody as a victim. I am secured in my persons, place, and effects. And now you're coming to harass me, asking me questions. And now, travelers who violate the quarantine rule could face up to $10,000 in fines because I don't want to be locked up in my house by a virus that's not even real, by a hoax. People, you guys have to wake up. It's getting to the point where we're going to get locked. There will be only certain sections where we can navigate through. They will be locking everything down more. This is their way of the quote-unquote second wave that they're going to throw at us. Well, not even throw at us. That's already here. Virus checkpoints at NYC to enforce travel rules. Well, not exactly. The mayor is sending the sheriffs to city bridges and tunnels to try and ward off a second wave of coronavirus. And remember, they're saying that we're quote-unquote low on positive rates, while everywhere in the country is skyrocketing when we were the epicenter. The outbreak was in New York, spreading everywhere. But yet, we got this quote-unquote under control. I'm going to end it there, guys. If you guys aren't signed up to TrueTube, make sure you guys sign up to TrueTube.com. You guys can follow me there. I'm under the same name, Rafael Flatplane TV. Here I post videos that YouTube doesn't let me post up. So if you guys do, come on over. Make sure you subscribe. Sign up to Rafael Flatplane TV. And you guys be easy. Thanks for coming and be safe.